Shut up and sit down.
Hey friends, I'm Simon.
I'm Ellie.
And we're having a couple of drinks tonight that are called
Hair of the Dog.
Hair of the Dog. And if you don't know what that is, you got healthier habits than we have.
Make better choices than we do.
And if you enjoy our silly videos, please remember to like, comment, subscribe, and hit that bell thing over there by the subscribe button. That would be very kind of you. You know, recently we reacted to the trailer of Baahubali 1 or Baahubali the Beginning from 2015, one of the highest grossing Indian movies ever. And we absolutely loved the trailer for the visuals. They were just stunning. There was a guy climbing upside down under a cliff, a guy carrying a massive thing. There was just massive battles, a guy wrestling a bull. Without knowing a great deal about the storyline, it was just visually stunning to us. But what we decided tonight was, before we get into the trailer for Baahubali 2 or Baahubali the conclusion, we should probably recap what the storyline was from the first movie so that we kind of know what we're getting into. So the movie opens in an ancient Indian kingdom called Mahishmati, and you've got a lady who's been badly injured. She's fighting with soldiers. She defeats 2 soldiers, and she's got a baby with her. And she decides to try to cross a rushing river, and she begins to drown. And as she's drowning in the river, she's holding the baby aloft out of the river in her hand, and she prays to Lord Shiva to save the baby. And some local tribespeople from across the river actually find the baby. They decide to take him in as their own, and they nickname him Shivu. So the movie then cuts to when Shivu is about 25 years old, and we learn that he's found that he has superhuman strength. And we see that the huge thing we were talking about is actually a lingam of Shiva that he's carrying to the bottom of a mountain. And around the same age, he climbs to the top of a mountain, has some challenges getting there, and he meets a warrior woman called Avantika, who he instantly falls in love with.
I would too.
So Avantika is a resistance warrior who is sworn to overthrow the tyrannical king of Mahishmati, a guy called King Balaladeva, and he's taken hostage a princess called Devasena. So Shivu vows to assist Avantika in this endeavor, and he sneaks into the city where Balaladeva lives on the eve of Balaladeva's birthday, and he erects a giant statue to Balaladeva. That was what we saw in the trailer. There was a giant statue falling down and like red dust flowing out from underneath, and that was due to his superhuman strength. Now the workers who were erecting the statue with him immediately saw this, figured out who he was, and started chanting Baahubali, Baahubali, because they knew who he was. So to cut a very long story short, Shivu rescues the princess, he defeats in battle Balaladeva's adopted son, and he wins over the loyalty of a slave called Katappa. And Katappa just happens to know Shivu's origin story. So it turns out Shiva is actually Mahendra Baahubali, the son of a famous warrior prince called Amarendra Baahubali. Now Amarendra Baahubali was the rightful heir to the throne, but was born an orphan, and he was actually adopted by Balaladeva's mother in order for her to seize control of the throne, and she taught Balaladeva to do whatever he possibly could to win that throne. And so he does, in a huge battle against another tribe, even though Amarendra Baahubali was actually the victor and the hero of the day. Balaladeva managed to seize the throne. So back in the present day, Shivu and his family have heard this backstory. He's fascinated by the tales of Amarendra Baahubali, and the first thing he asks, of course, is, when can we go see him? And Katappa, the slave, says, well, I'm afraid to tell you, Amarendra Baahubali is dead. When they ask, how did he die? Katappa replies, I killed him. Fade to black. End of the first movie. So talk about a cliffhanger. You've got the rightful heir to the throne, you've got a slave who's killed that rightful heir's father, you don't know why, and the second movie is set up not only to be a sequel to tell us what happens with Mahendra Baahubali and how he tries to take back his kingdom, but it will also tell us the story of Amarendra Baahubali in terms of a prequel to the first movie. So it's both somehow prequel and sequel. And it seems that we weren't the only people excited to see the second part of this movie, because this ended up being the highest grossing movie in its original Telugu and Tamil languages, and also in Hindi as well. So this second part's a pretty big deal. So I would say let's check out the trailer, and we'll be back afterwards to let you know what we think.
Let's go.
अमरेंद्र बाहुबली यानी मैं
Wow.
महिष्मति की असंख्य प्रजा और उनके धन, मान और प्राण की रक्षा करूंगा, और इसके लिए अपने प्राणों की आहुति भी देनी पड़े तो मैं पीछे नहीं हटूंगा। राजमाता शिवगामी देवी को साक्षी मानकर मैं ये शपथ लेता हूं।
Oh, wow. Yeah. Oh my goodness.
Yes, that's the warrior.
Yeah.
You want a big elephant?
Oh my god, I'm speechless. It's so stunning. And look at that.
जब तक तुम मेरे साथ हो मुझे मारने वाला पैदा नहीं हुआ मामा।
Whoa. Oh my god. Jeez. Wow.
Whoa.
Oh my god. Oh my goodness.
Wow. My brain has melted.
I feel like I should say bloody hell because
There was so much blood.
there was so much blood. Wow. And you know, I was kind of struck by, first of all, how similar visually this was to the first movie, but also subtly how different. And the blood was one of the big differences. There were gallons of blood. Before we even get into it, I wanted to say, sorry, if you were hoping to see the original Telugu language version of the trailer, we just had a bunch of copyright issues including that, so we went with the Hindi version, which honestly it had 118 million views. So, you know, it was obviously doing okay, but sorry that you got the Hindi version and not the Telugu
We
or
tried to get
Tamil
the
version.
original, but it just couldn't happen.
Yeah, that's the way it goes. But Baahubali, the conclusion, oh my goodness, just the trailer was just an assault on the senses, like sensory overload. What did you think? What were your impressions?
Again, I really love the striking imagery. I felt like the first one had really iconic images in the trailer, like we talked about at the beginning. And then this one kind of took it up a notch as well. Like the huge statues that you kind of get a glimpse of, and then he's running up them
Yes.
and sliding down them. And the fight scenes look incredible. The choreography of the fights just looks amazing. Like the massive battles with the big armies, but also the one-to-one fights as well.
Yeah.
And that stare down at the end.
Yes, covered in blood.
Wow.
Yeah, I was in the same place. My mind was blown by that. Like you say, in the first trailer for the first movie, you see huge battles of thousands, hundreds of thousands of people, you know, just colliding on a battlefield. And that I found stunning, but I think the contrast, and you still see that in the second movie clearly, but the contrast in the second movie was more, it did seem to focus on more one-on-one combat within that battlefield. And I guess, that, like you say, the choreography, like the way he stuck that spear through two guys, just Oh my, yeah, there were so many moments like that. The giant elephant as well.
And like knocking people down with shields.
Yeah, the way he kicked the shield, it seemed to kind of bend inwards through the force of his kick. That to me, it was as stunning as anything Marvel have done with the Incredible Hulk. The Incredible Hulk has this huge power. He smashes things to pieces, knocks down buildings. That part where he kicks that shield, the shield gets dented and it just flies through like 2 or 3 people. Oh my goodness. What a blast this looks to be. But it also had, I felt, more of a dose of romance than the first movie. There were strong female characters in it, but also hints of romance as well, I thought.
And I like that you kind of got a glimpse of like the musical numbers as well, with like the dance scenes as well. I quite like that, with like and how stylish everyone looked.
Yeah,
it was really striking.
I was also struck by the music in the trailer. Not what I expected at all. Like, the first trailer was much more, I guess, kind of orchestral, symphonic type music, whereas this was a lot more modern, and the visuals kind of looked a little more modern as well, despite the fact that it was obviously set hundreds of years ago. So, I don't know what to make of the music, whether the actual second movie has, a different soundtrack to mix things up.
It looks so good.
Yeah, there's a lot that I would love to know more about as well. There was a part, and it was just, again, I keep saying visually stunning. I'm just going to have to keep rinsing and repeating that. But there was a bit where a sword was cut through a piece of cloth, and a lady was looking out from the other side, and she had like a really intricate, I don't know whether it was a tattoo or like a henna tattoo, but like a red design on her forehead. And I have no idea what that design is. I don't know whether there's some symbolism to that. I assume so. I'd love to know if you know. There was so much like that. And, I've really enjoyed reading the story behind the first movie and researching that. But I haven't yet read the plot of the second movie because I really didn't want it to be spoiled for us. So, yeah. And, another thing that I actually really loved about this, and it's kind of similar in principle to Dangal that we covered the other day, which was about a Pelwani wrestler who raised his 2 daughters, actually his 4 daughters in real life, to be Olympic wrestlers for India. But in this, I was struck by the number of really strong women characters. Not just strong, but violent,
yes, and skilled as well.
Yeah,
skillful.
Yeah, and there was something really interesting about the blend of skill, violence, and beauty, and the colors that they used in those scenes as well were just so striking.
Especially because some of the scenes were really kind of shot in a very gritty, kind of monochromatic way, and then seeing those pops of color in the saris and then in some of the set pieces, like when it opens and you've got that lush green forest with the walled city in the middle, it really made the pops of color stand out more, and it made those kind of gritty monochrome scenes just even more stark.
Yeah, and I with the first movie, I actually kind of drew parallels to the 300 movies from the Western world, but this to me was a very different thing. Like, I actually haven't seen myself Western movies that parallel the visuals and the styles that you see in Baahubali, the conclusion. It was incredible. And, it was directed again by S.S. Rajamouli, who directed the first movie. And, clearly you can see his vision through both movies. But I'm just astonished by the guy's skill and the rest of the cast and the crew. It looks like an incredible effort. So I'm blown away by this.
Yeah.
So there you go, friends. I think, as you can see, we're distractedly impressed with Baahubali 2 to the point where we're struggling to get words out. And we're now going to go ahead and watch the movies, and we'll try to come back as soon as we can with reviews of them and let you know what we thought about them after seeing the whole thing. But suffice to say, we are very, very excited.
Big fans already.
Big fans already. And we're so grateful for people for giving us recommendations. So we have a whole bunch of other movies, both Western and Indian, that we're going to be covering very soon. But if you have any requests for us, let us know, and we will do our best to accommodate them. So thank you, and keep them coming. Well, friends, in that case, we will see you tomorrow, because we do this every day.
Every day.
Every day on the next Drunk Trailer Ambush.
Peace out, nerds.
Bye!
Shut up and sit down.